All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Clairvoyant Conversations. My name is Alexander Creek, psychic medium, numerologist, and astrologer. So I'm bringing on a good friend of mine. Her name is Heidi Namken. She is a Reiki master and energy counselor. And she is the lady that I learned Reiki 1 and 2 from. And I love her to pieces. And when I met you originally, I think it was at some like meetup thing that you did at your office, and I had like a sprained wrist or something, and I heard you say like, I think I just heard you curse and then belly laugh and then come over and give me some healing on my wrist, and I was like, I think I found the person that I would like to teach me Reiki. So that is what I have always enjoyed the most about you is I always thought you were really funny and really wise and very, very grounded and really good at building your business as well. So welcome to the show, Heidi.
Hey, thank you very much. Yes, that was the meeting. It was I think it was our open house holiday type thing. And yeah, I remember.
I think I just lost my sound.
Oh, how about now?
That's good. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I it's fine.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's okay. I just remember you seem like to be a really good community builder, and I feel like you're really one of the first people kind of on the scene because like Reiki now almost seems, at least from my vantage point, pretty commonplace, basically.
Yes.
Or it's a lot more. So I guess for people out there who probably don't know what it is, I told you before, like we're gonna kind of speed through what Reiki is.
Yep.
But give a definition basically of what Reiki healing is and kind of maybe how you do it in your practice.
Yeah. So Reiki is just kind of a modality, more or less. I guess I'd like to quantify it that way. It's a certain kind of pattern, teaching, that kind of stuff that you learn through a Reiki master, obviously through classes, and then also obviously just by yourself. But yeah, it's basically hand placements, and it used to be thought that you were channeling energy. Now I look at it more of connection of the other person's energy, and then just helping guide that. But yeah, so I started when I got Reiki attuned. It was 2013. I had known since my mid-30s, I'll be 60 here in April, that I was a healer. And so the word Reiki came into my realm. Right. And so I got attuned, and then I took off from there. Basically 2 weeks after I got attuned, I had my first client. So cool. Yeah. So totally knew that I was supposed to be, doing that. But did I know what I was doing? I did a lot of trust because I really didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I feel like a lot of this work is trust anyway.
Basically. Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Whether it comes from like, if you're self-employed and you're like, will I get enough clients this month? Or whatever, there's a lot about, and you actually taught me a lot about that too, about like, especially when I was first kind of starting out, as I was going more and more full-time, it was like, because I would have a session with you every month.
Yes.
And a lot of it, I would just come in like, oh my God, I just like don't know what to do. Like, I'm just kind of freaking out. And you're like, part of it, you do need to tell your guides that you need to make this much a month and that you really need to stand in your office and kind of broadcast your light so people can see you. I remember
Yes, exactly. And I still do the broadcasting of the standing. I actually just told somebody that just recently, of standing in the middle of the office and beaming my light up and out so that those that are seeking me will find me. So, yeah.
When people find you, do they know what they're looking for, or do they just kind of feel like they're like, I don't know what I need, but I feel like I need to just hang out with you?
Yeah, a lot of people come in what I call the blind faith. Right. A fair amount of people will find me through Google. Yep. They'll search the word Reiki, and then they find me, and then they come in, and then we kind of take it from there. But those, like I love those because I get to share with them a lot of different things and insight and clarities and tools of being able to figure out what the heck is going on.
What do you find that people need most from you when they come in? Because when your sessions are a lot more than just like Reiki, because it just, yeah.
All right. So, because that's kind of who I am. I don't, like I've never just done Reiki.
Yeah.
Through, like, even when I was beginning, I was trying to think here. Basically, recently I've had some people like, am I crazy? Because there's just so much insight and clarity and um, synchronicities that are happening to people, and they don't really understand why. Or what's really going on. They know that they're changing their viewpoint on things, their opinions on things, or people around them are. There's an unsettling in their being. And so I just really talk to them about energy and what is it, and tuning into that, and becoming aware of energies that are around you, and how you're affected by it. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I remember when you do a session, there's usually like sometimes you would connect to like my inner child, or sometimes you'd be like, oh, your team, like your spirit team was telling me about this, and you'll like bring out these like wind chimes stuff.
Yes.
And like spray me with stuff. So
I love it, right? Okay, so yeah, so basically, I mean, like, I'll just do a quick little down and dirty.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, the person comes in, majority of people don't have a clue what's going on, and so I really try to make sure that they feel comfortable, because it is nerve-wracking first time you come in, because you just don't know what you're gonna get. But I am automatically, connected in with intentions, and I think a lot of that is just being in the office. So I like having that separate place. So I'm totally tuned in, connected to their energies. And then as we begin to talk, I just start getting things funneled in with regards to what it is that they need for information. Sometimes we dig a little bit. It depends on, what their situation is. But sometimes, it's just kind of checking things out, where things are at energetically. What can I do for them? If they've got any kind of physical issues going on, like I have people that have back issues. I had somebody with, like wrist issues, headaches, shoulders. And so sometimes either on the table or, having them sit at the chair, I can hone in on that, and I get them to connect into that, and then be able to pull that energy out, which is always really fun to do with brand new clients, because they're like, what did you just do? And it's like, well, I pulled the energy out because it was energy that was causing you discomfort. But yeah, and then on the table, when I'm actually doing the energy healing, the thing that I really like about that is I use a smudge phrase that I create. And so that's the olfactory. It's like the Pavlov is how I kind of do it.
Yes.
So
like, I smell that good cleansing smell. It's the good stuff is about to start.
Right, exactly. And it's like the body goes, yeah, here I am. Like, let's let go of all this shit and let's move into this. So I start with that, and then basically I'm definitely channeling, I'm definitely meditating.
Yes, you are.
And I'm just listening to their body. The body is like always, our bodies are always talking to us. Most of the time people don't pay any attention to it. And so I'll hear things in my senses. That's how I hear more than anything. And then also their higher self or their support team, to have them, connect in with me and just provide them insight. So I usually don't talk during the session, because I really want people to just get in that sweet spot, to be able to just let go of all that crud.
Yeah, I'm not somebody that can find the super relaxed state easily, because I tend to I think my body tends to want to control things. But I remember like going to you, and I was just like, I just was like feeling kind of frazzled. And you're like, I actually just think we need to make you jelly for like an hour, basically. You know what I mean? Yep. You just need to like completely let go. And kind of depending on what I needed, you were like, here, hold on to this selenite, or here, hold on to this super grounding stone, and let's get you back in your body, basically. Yes. But it was really unique pretty much every time I went. And I knew something shifted every time, even if I didn't quite know, like, because I would leave and I'm like, I gotta get home. I'm like in my car. I'm like, I just need to go home now because I feel a little bit like jelly. you know?
Which is a good jelly, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. No, and that's just it. And then that gives you that opportunity to connect in. I was talking to a girlfriend the other day, and I've been busy enough
Mhm.
with clients and things like that, but I haven't been having enough downtime to just sit and be and really connect in with what energies are happening. So I'll have a friend ask me like, "Hey, what do you think is going on here?" And when I actually stop and pay attention, I can really sense all those energies that are happening.
Right.
So it helps me also understand when people are like, what's going on? It's just, they're just not plugged in. They're just not connected. They don't know what that is,
Right.
kind of thing. So yeah, so it's been really helpful.
Especially since we're kind of chronically busy anyway, I find, just generally speaking, like
Yeah.
doing. And I'm like, like rise and grind culture is kind of like, it's against my soul. It's like kind of against my nature
Yeah.
a little bit,
Right.
because I do think that we were designed, or like we're not necessarily designed to like be 100% productive all the time,
Mm-mm.
So,
No, I think that's one of the biggest things that I needed to learn when I started full time, doing this full time, is to just sit and be. And I think I'd shared that with you. There were times that I didn't have clients.
mhm,
Like I would only have maybe 2 clients in a week. And I needed to just connect in and say, okay, now is my time to learn how to just be.
right.
And like the child, I give the example of when the child, whatever age, like under 10, when they wake up, like on a Saturday,
Mhm.
do you think they have an agenda? Unless somebody tells them, right? But
Right.
they're like, hey, what I got going on today? And they just go with the flow. And
Mhm.
somebody might say, hey, lunch is made. And they're like, oh, awesome. And they go and they eat, like it didn't even occur to them that they need to eat,
Right.
somebody said, hey, you need to do that. And so it is really embracing that type of childlike mentality of, like I don't have to be doing,
Mhm.
moving forward on something. Being laying on the couch is enough.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. It's this year, like, because I went officially full time about 2 months before the pandemic hit this
mhm.
year. So like I really had to like lean into those principles of like, it's like I think I've done enough to like make myself reach people and do whatever. And I would like, and my mom, as you probably know, is also very connected, very spiritual, and also very grounded
Right,
at the same time.
right.
And she was kind of teaching me a lot of the Abraham Hicks principles, like
Yep.
from way back in the day, right? Of like, you know, follow your excitement. You can just be like, and I had to teach myself, like, hey, there are like days and hours where like you can just go for a walk. You're in a beautiful, I was moved to a beautiful new city, even it was still spring and summertime, so I could still go outside.
Right.
And yeah, and then it actually turned out to be fine. you know?
Yes.
So it actually turned out to be pretty awesome. I mean, there were still months where I was like, there was still like weeks where I was like, will I make it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Even
it
if it's the last day, it'll, somehow, some way, it always, balances out. So,
absolutely. Um, okay, so I want to ask, because I that's the way my brain works, is jumping. My brain is non-linear, as you are
which is
probably.
awesome.
Thank you. I guess I want to know how you even got on this path to begin with, because I don't want to skip over that, just because
Hmm.
I'm always fascinated by that. Like, were you always kind of sensitive? Were you always kind of aware? I just kind of want to know how you got on this
Yeah.
path in the first place.
Yeah. I didn't want to like, so I've obviously been thinking about this a little bit.
Right.
And I was like, I don't want to hit the recorder and, say the same thing that I've said numerous other
I
times.
hear
But
you.
right. So I know that I had anxiety at the age of 3.
Hmm.
So the more I tune into how sensitive I am to energies, I can only imagine how highly sensitive I was as a very young child,
Right.
to just all the stuff that was going on.
Hmm.
And no wonder I shut it down to
Yeah.
to a degree that, like didn't completely shut it off, but it was pretty much done. But I remember being in 5th grade And there was a song by Carole King that reminded me of that I was not of this earth. And that wherever I was from, that's where I really wanted to go, because it was really difficult to be here. And that would have been in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And but then, like I kind of shut everything off. I mean, although I was kind of tuned into, like ghosts a little bit,
Yeah.
but was still pretty scared of all of it.
Right.
Late 20s, I had a dream, and it came true the next day, and I knew it, and I tried to stop it because it was not a great dream.
Yep.
And I couldn't stop it. So that showed me a lot of, things are in motion, and as much as we might want to try to change the trajectory in the moment, it's kind of hard sometimes, because like my quote is, the train already left the station,
Right.
And it's like,
Yep.
can't really do anything.
Yep.
But yeah, and then I was doing spiritual counseling in my mid 30s. I tried to do the whole church route, and that just did not align with me. I mean, like completely, really, really, really tried it, and it just did not feel right. And then spiritual counseling, that's where it really kicked in. Was seeing a Methodist minister, and one of the things she said, when you get in your car and you turn on the radio and there's a song that just really resonates with you, yeah, that's God speaking to you. And I was like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was then that I knew about signs, and then just being a healer, but I didn't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then like I said, it fast forward to 2012, 2013, and I find a word that is going to work. It's becoming mainstream a little bit, and so when I actually went full time 5 years ago now, I was the only that I'm aware of, the only one that had an office outside of my home that did just Reiki. I didn't do a massage or anything like that, just did Reiki. And my goal was to make Reiki so mainstream, so quote unquote normal, that people would be like at work and they have to leave for appointments or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I got to run some errands. I'm gonna go to my Reiki practitioner, and then I got to run over here. And to have it just so normalized so that people aren't like, what?
Exactly.
It's still got a little ways to go, but it's a lot more quote unquote normalized now than, which was really freaking exciting to me, because I don't have to educate near as much, because a lot of people have at least an idea of it.
Well, and to put things in perspective, like, I have listeners. So you're from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, United States. And if you're outside of the United States, that is a very conservative place. It's a very rural, conservative place. So I feel like a lot of your work has been like having to kind of chip away a little bit at like belief systems and that general paradigm that people live in that area and in the United States in general. So just like you were up against a lot. So
it was,
okay,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, the thing is that, it was freaking like, well, because you said I can swear, it was fucking scary. Like, I mean, it was like, like stepping out. And the thing is that I can extrovert really well. Okay. Yeah. But I am very introverted. Yeah. And it's uncomfortable for me to step out there. But I knew that I wanted to help a bunch of people. And the only way I was going to be able to do that is to get myself further and further out of the spiritual closet. And I'm still working on being completely out of that spiritual closet, but I'm getting there. And it feels good. It feels really, really good. So, yeah.
I think the spiritual closet was much scarier than my gay closet for me. I mean, like, I was lucky that my mom and dad were like pretty chill about everything, but the psychic closet was way more anxiety inducing for me. And I still find myself coming out slowly, like even as a professional, I'm like, oh, let's talk about aliens now, or whatever,
or entities, or any, like all of that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's like, and I just kind of check people, how do I check people? When I meet somebody, it's just, there's this sense like they'll get it if I say something to them. And then there's others, it's like, they give me that blank look, like they're not there yet.
Yeah.
And so I still try to plant the seed. And then who knows if and when it'll germinate, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I have to say too, the fact that you were able to, that you're, I mean, you're an Aries sun, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I love the pioneering aspect of what
Yeah.
you've done. And I think about Aries as the pioneer, right?
Yes.
And I'm thinking about your life path being the two, and
Yes.
two is like the sensitive, empath kind of quote unquote, like the counselor. Like
Yes.
I find twos are very sensitive to energy in general, and people, places, and things. And also, it's funny because like two in many ways would rather be in the background, you know what I mean, and play that supportive role because you were an executive assistant for many years, right?
Yeah.
Before you
Yeah.
kind of stepped into
Yep.
this. Yep. Let me ask you, I guess I'm curious about like your strangest kind of, if you have like a top 5 strangest weird paranormal kind of stuff during sessions, or just like really momentous, any kind of really momentous sessions that kind of come to mind for you.
One of the one that I did do, well, this was probably after I went full time. I think the first year after I went full time,
Yep.
my team and I, there was some kind of lower grade entity. Let's
Okay.
just put it that way.
Yep.
And it was very like, I look back now, I was one of the very few times that I kind of got shook a little bit. It was like,
Yep.
holy fuck. And like, whoa.
Yep.
But I called in the archangels, I called in, all the big dogs.
Right.
And in that moment, the client was actually moving on the table.
Yeah.
And then this thing extricated itself from the individual. And then I was like, okay, we can bring this back down and get them centered. And after the session, they just kind of looked at me like, whoa. And then the next time they came in, they're like, we don't need to do that again. And I go, no, we don't. like we did it good. We did it good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, it was like that was a pretty big one coming in. But then, like what I tell people, especially people that I'm teaching or other practitioners, my team would not present me with anybody that I wasn't capable in that moment to help.
Yeah.
So
and
because
by
of
team,
that,
you mean your non-physical.
now my non-physical
guides.
team, yes,
Yep.
my guides, angels, spirit team.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that without a doubt. And so if I do get presented with something that is a little bit bigger than what I normally am with, I know that I'm ready and that they needed to come to me.
Absolutely.
I've had another one. That was an interesting one. What can happen sometimes, this is not everybody that has aches and pains and stuff like that, but this certain individual did, was fighting the lower energies. I don't know how else to describe that, but heavy ass ones. And so what would happen is some of that stuff would get stored in his body. And so he would come in just like all gnarly. And so he would come in and we'd clear all of that. Right. And there was one time that it was a pretty big session during that time, because once again, when he would be laying there, his body would start reacting almost immediately. Like whatever that was, the entity that was in there knew that it was going to have to be, leave the body. And so it was kind of fighting it. But yeah, after we get all done, we opened up the office door, and then there was another door inside, and something had been actually energetically shoved off the door.
Wow. Yeah.
It was about 3 feet away. And I laughed about it because I knew that something was really angry. And I was like, hey, and I did do some serious protection after that. I made sure that I was, cleansed and cleared, and, did stuff at home here also to just make sure that nothing of that lower grade was going to, bother me, basically. But those are kind of my bigger ones. Some other ones that are really fun. Like I had a client come in recently, first time seeing me, and talks to me about having some lower back problems, like in the tailbone area. And so I had them stand, because I hadn't even gotten them off of the table yet. I thought, well, let's, get this checked out. So I have them standing on my hand on their lower back, and like they started feeling like a little movement. And, so I'm telling them, sharing with them, like, that's just energy moving and that kind of stuff. And then I had them do do the breathing that I have them do. And then I was able to like just take my hands and, like brush it down. And yeah, they were like, whoa, what did you just do to me? And I was like, I just moved the energy out, and he hasn't had any issues since then.
That's great.
Which is just, and that's why I love what I do. Because those are some major things, but also I've watched people change their viewpoint on things, their opinions on things. I had one lady come in recently that she said, no way am I going to forgive my ex-husband. I'm going to hold on to that. And I said, well, obviously it's serving you, that anger and, all that kind of stuff. But then as we were talking a little bit more, and I, talked through it of like, okay, so you're holding on to that energy of negativity and anger and frustration, that's affecting your life as you hold on to it. And then we started talking a little bit deeper about, what were the gifts that he brought to you? What did you learn from this relationship? And as we were sitting there, I watched her literally change her attitude. And then she said, I forgive him. She said, I don't need to be around him or anything like that. No, I said, no, you don't need to do that. You don't have to have conversation or anything like that. But that was really, really awesome to see that happen. So.
That seems like the energy counselor piece of what you do as well. Yeah, because it's like I just that's why I really loved coming to you. When I was in town, because it was like I'm kind of a mess, and you're like, okay, let's start from A,
right?
Talk our way through it.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm curious. The energy right now of like 2020, 2021, it feels very extreme. And it felt more extreme last year, and it actually feels a little bit, it feels different actually now. It actually feels better to me now. But that polarity, the duality of the extreme and the fear and all this kind of stuff. I guess I'm wondering what you're seeing with clients, and maybe if there's a general trend, I guess, of like what you're seeing with clients as we go into this new year, kind of what things you have been noticing as people just kind of deal with the turbulence, I guess, of the like 2 years or so.
Yeah. Just trying to think overall here in the last couple months. I know what I'm energetically seeing out there. Well, maybe I'll share that, and then I'll probably get into more clients. But
that's kind of a difficult question, just like a lot.
Well, yeah, because it's like, kind of thing. But kind of my take on, what was happening last year is that our root chakra basically got either blown to bits or totally dismantled. And the root chakra is, our basic needs. And everybody was affected by it. I don't care what you did for a living. I don't care how spiritual you were. We were all affected.
Absolutely.
And we needed to, because, collectively as the consciousness and the whole world needed to have this shift. So what I'm seeing now is we have shifted, quite a bit. There's not as much of that polarity. I think there's a kind of a false sense of comfort that we've gotten, but I think the intensity was so strong on so many different levels that we're all kind of like, oh God, let me get my breath.
Right.
And I think we're like, as a bigger whole, we're more prepared now to handle some things that may come our way as we continue to shift and change and things like that. And people are becoming more aware of the need to reach out. I think mental health obviously has become more and more of a forefront. I was like, because I live, eat, and breathe this, I saw something, I don't know, within the last 6 months about, remove the stigma of therapy. And I was like, oh my God, you got to be freaking kidding me. There's still stigma to this?
No.
You got to be kidding me. It was like 35 years ago, like therapy was like, oh, you're really mental if if you have therapy. And now I'm like, no, we all need some help,
Yeah.
and clarity and insight. Why not take advantage of that? We don't, like, sometimes you just need that objectivity. Sometimes it's that stuff is so close to us that we can't see it.
Yeah.
And we need somebody else to just help us, get that. So
I need someone else to read me from time to time, or like,
yes.
I mean, like I can't see all my own stuff, and literally, and also just going to like, so I finally got health, and my health insurance was in flux last year.
Oh yes.
And now it is secure. So
Yay.
I'm excited to like, I can actually like go talk to a counselor. Not that
Yes.
I have anything like super pressing, but it will be nice to talk to someone who can be objective and reflective back to me, basically.
Yes.
That's trying to deal
Yes.
with my various neuroses. So
yeah, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, exactly.
Yep. Well, and I think that, like COVID is just one thing. I just kind of get a feeling like there are going to be more events, like not to put fear around people or
Yep.
anything like that, but like the need for community and like providing for people and evolving and all that stuff. I think it's going to be really like important the next couple of years.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I definitely agree with you. And it is one of those things where we all have choices.
Yep.
And so I can choose to sit in fear, which, so occasionally I do.
Yep.
I'll see something and then I'll be like, and I get all this fear-based stuff going on.
Yep.
And then I stop and go, like, that's not where I want to live.
Yeah.
And so what do I need to do? And, thankfully I've got, like quite a few little tools in my toolbox to be able to go to and refer to. And I think that all individuals get to keep that in mind, that if you're living in a lot of fear, you don't have to be there.
Mm-hmm.
That you can take charge of it and you can be empowered. So,
absolutely. What are your favorite go-tos, I guess, for managing like fear and stress and stuff that comes up if someone didn't say have like Reiki training?
Right. The reason that I'm laughing is like, I was thinking about this a little bit and I was like, oh God, I do a lot of reframing. Like one of the things that I have is that I get caught up on like creating these stories in my mind. And obviously been doing it for a really long time. So I'm really good at creating these stories. And now it's a matter of like, what is the story that I've created? And is this the truth? Do I have anything to back this up? And so it's a matter of, just really becoming aware. Like, I'm really irritated right now. What am I irritated about? Well, somebody didn't respond the way that I thought they should respond. Okay. Is there something you can control about that?
Right.
Myself, I can't control them. It's like, okay, so do you want to hold on to this? Not really, because I don't like the way it feels. So now what are you going to do? Well, let me see if I can, just let it go. And then sometimes, if that doesn't work, then, I listen to music that I love. Sometimes I journal. Yesterday I was oral journaling. I record. Sometimes it's too difficult for me to try to get it from my head out my hand onto a piece of paper.
Yep.
And so I like to record it. Not that I very rarely go back and listen to it, but rather than like just talking out loud in my apartment, like it feels more
intentional.
Grounding. Yeah, intentional, to actually do that. It's kind of like I actually hear myself.
Right.
Recording it. And then that a lot of times that helps give me some clarity on what the heck is going on with my thought processes or what it is that I'm challenged with. I do use I have a lot of different stones and crystals.
Yep.
It's one of those things like once you get started, it's really hard to stop. Especially if they're bright. But I do there'll be time like I usually have a quartz crystal by the side of my bed, and a lot of times I'll sleep with that. Sometimes I sleep with a in my hand a lot of times, or else underneath the pillow, or black tourmaline, anything that's dealing with negativity, especially if I've been challenged with a lot. I do, especially if my body is starting to ache a little bit, which tells me that I've been doing a lot of energy healing.
Yep.
Then I'll take an Epsom salt bath, and just really soak in that. I use essential oils every day on the body as intention based. I drink a lot of water.
Yep.
You can never drink enough water.
I feel like I don't remember to. And if I so when I have my psychic students and stuff, I'm like, okay, let's practice on me, read my energy. They're like, your rose looks thirsty. And I'm like, God damn it. Jesus, I need again. So anyway.
It's sitting there and it's like, yeah, give me a little water.
I know. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I probably should start drinking as much coffee.
I drink Americanos, so I figured that's got a little water in it too. Yep. My daughter negated that to me, but
oh well, whatever.
I know it. Whatever. But yeah, that's right. But that's that's a lot of the different stuff. I mean, I have quotes, I have a daily calendar with quotes. I get the Abraham Hicks every day email. I get another one that's an intentional based. So I'm constantly feeding myself with what it is I truly desire and how I desire to have my life lived.
You seem really good at that. That's why I asked you that question, because it's that's something that you kind of helped me along with, kind of finding my own groove. I find for me, one of my biggest things is if I'm in a crappy mood or I'm just feeling generally anxious, I'll just clean or go to the store, meal prep. I'm I gotta just I usually, for me, I'm usually let's go to the root chakra first. Yes. And then I can kind of go back up, because there's usually something, I'm a little messy. So there's usually something out of order that I can fix. And I'm okay, well, I feel better that I've made some quinoa salad or whatever.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. What better thing to do? Yeah, is to really do, okay, this is how I look at it. It's being human.
Yep.
It's when we get out of whack, at least I think, that it is my, myself, my true self, kind of we're doing this human shit yet? Okay. Right. Oh yeah, let's get back in this body. And the body goes, yeah, get your ass back in here.
Yes, please.
And so, yeah, I mean, cleaning and doing very human things is one of the greatest things to do. So.
Well, I feel like I've had I've talked to a lot of people who have kind of a low grade depression, they're functioning fine. And, people come to me and be like, I don't know, I've just been kind of depressed since November. And I'm like, babe, you think you know what I mean? There's a lot going on. It's okay to be kind of bummed out sometimes. And also not even needing to immediately fix it. You can just kind of let it hang out for a minute.
Right. I think that's a lot of it too, is just being and listening to the body and really hearing it. And that for those that aren't aware, and I get just enough information that makes me kind of lethal, not enough to really explain to anybody what's all going on.
Yeah.
But energetically wise, I mean, there are amazing things that are happening. And our bodies, our beings are literally adjusting every day. And I just want to honor those that are really awakened or the beginning of the awakening, and they're still trying to function through that heavy 3D stuff in their everyday. It's I want to just embrace you, because it's really challenging. But I totally agree with you. It's you don't have to be scared of your shadow. You don't have to be scared of just being. You don't have to be scared if you don't feel like smiling, or you don't feel that joy or happiness if somebody else is preaching all about you gotta be all happy. And that was one of the things I learned a couple of years ago. Because it was totally embracing that. Want to live my light, want to share my light, all that kind of stuff. And I just found that I wasn't being true to myself, because I would get really irritated about stuff, and then I'd be like, oh, I can't do that. And I just, right. But I was I want to, well, and the thing is that I'm here having a human experience. So I want to have all of it. I don't want to just have, the positives, the highs. I want to have the lows too. I want to have those balances. I want to go at the end of this experience that I'm having, I want to go, God dang, I got to have the experiences of all of it.
Absolutely.
And so that means that, yeah, I'm going to have some really low times, but then I'm also going to be in that joy filled freaking light. I mean, hello.
Well,
So,
have you seen, so one thing that's I've learned the term like last year, and I'm like, oh, that's what that word is, spiritual bypassing.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because not everything like love and light, children, like, like not every, and like having a spiritual experience is just part of my life. And I'm not like, it's not a glamorous thing, at
No.
all. It's a
Mm-mm.
shift in perspective. That's really kind of all it is to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
I right there with you. And yeah, the spiritual bypassing, I'll come across some people that want to do, and like I get it
yeah,
because it's uncomfortable.
right.
But it's going to come back around, and it's going to probably come back around twofold or fivefold.
Mhm.
And so it's worth it first time around going through it.
Right.
Because if you thought it was intense first time around, oh, honey,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you can't love and light your way out of like a trauma experience that you need to deal
Mm-mm.
with,
No,
basically. You know what I
no,
mean?
yeah, no.
So like it's okay to be fucking pissed, So
Pissed, you can be in the fetal position on the floor, bawling your eyes out,
exactly.
kind of thing, and then get up and like, okay, I'm going to be all right. So,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
You could have said something really profound and it wouldn't have been recorded, and then you would have been like, repeat that. I'm like, I can't.
Exactly.
That's a one-shot deal. All right, my Reiki, my classes that I teach Reiki 1 and 2 all in one day. They're either one-on-one or 2 students to me. I like them small so that we can go off on tangents, that we can go deeper. We can do whatever we need to do to cover everything. Classes usually held from 9 to 4. Just basically need to get a hold of me if you're interested, and then we will look at a date and set it from there. I do offer Reiki Master classes. I really encourage people to wait at least a year after they were Reiki 2 attuned, or 100 sessions. That's kind of my own setting, because the Reiki Master will definitely lift you a little bit higher. That's 4 hours. And then I also am offering starting this year, I'm calling it the Authentic Self Journey. My goal this month is to get the information out there. I actually offered this originally in 2013, but then needed to focus on getting clients for regular sessions. So basically, it is six sessions, 2 hours each over a 3-month time period, and we delve deep into what it is that you want to discover about yourself. And of course, as you know me, I like to do things different. And so if somebody's done all their things, done workshops, counseling, blah, 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 and they need to go deeper and richer, this would probably be beneficial for them. And so, yeah. And that's kind of like it. Got sessions going on, and
You do distance sessions too.
I do
Right.
distant. Yes, I have people in West Virginia, Minnesota. I've had in Hawaii, all over. Yeah, all over. Yeah, and sometimes it's just reading, and then sometimes it's the counseling part of it. Sometimes it's the distant healing, and sometimes it's a combination of both. So,
Awesome. I wanted to speak really quick because you obviously tuned me Reiki 1 and 2, and
yes,
Reiki 1, I was like, okay, cool. And then Reiki 2, I couldn't stop crying like
yes,
when I got the attunement, because it was really weird. It's the best way. It's like you can kind of like, if you're a skeptic, you might get up to the point where you're like, okay, cool. And then for me, my Reiki 2 attunement was like a visceral
yeah,
heart chakra pop open. It's like I was seeing another lifetime where I was really
yeah,
connected with animals and nature, and I just could not stop. I couldn't really get it together for like a good several minutes there.
yeah, yeah.
And if anyone is considering it, to just attune, like if you feel like guided to get an attunement, or it's not, you don't have to necessarily go with it to the goal of like, I'm going to be a healer, I'm going to be a practitioner. You can just do
Mm-mm.
it for yourself, for
Yeah,
healing yourself.
yeah.
And personally, getting that attunement, and I have some Reiki clients, it's kind of all mixed together now,
Hmm.
but it helped me open up to my intuitive abilities even more and deepen things because it
Yeah.
deepened my trust in spirit, and a lot more stuff happened basically.
Yes.
Just was a
Yes.
lot more it just kind of clicks some things together. So
Mhm.
I did want to mention that piece too. And
Yeah.
I just really liked your class because it was fun and it was just, it was, when it's right, it's right. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just,
And that's kind of how I look at it too. Like each person will feel called to go to whatever teacher they align with.
mhm.
There's certain ones that like I wouldn't align with for the way that I teach because I teach pretty fluid.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and other people like to have things a little bit more structured. And so I just really encourage people if they Reiki definitely seeks the person,
Yep.
I think. And so like many people will get that little nudge, and then eventually they'll go and get attuned. And like you said, it doesn't mean that you're going to create a practice. It doesn't mean that you're going to even practice on other people, but it definitely changes the way that your life is. Basically, it really helps your journey. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. If you want to be opened up, if you want to get out of your head a little bit and connect more into your heart and connect more to your intuition, it's like kind of it's a really nice ticket in order to do that. And it's gonna
Yes.
be like, oh, okay. So that's some stuff I gotta look
Yeah.
at now. So
Awesome.
where can people find you, Heidi?
All right. Under HeidiNamkin.com. Just had my website. I'm in the process of kind of updating my website. So I really like the way that it's flowing.
Yep.
A lot of the information. It also talks about my journey on a little bit more deeper level. And then also I'm on Facebook under Heidi Namkin, and then Instagram. You can find my business, I think, under Heidi Namkin. I don't know. You're going to get me. I think it's Energy Healer Heidi. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
something there. Yeah.
And again, people can just click on it and
Yeah.
there's show notes too.
You
But
search my name, you'll find me.
exactly. And you're also I thought your interview with like the local kind of press.
Yeah. Kellerland Living. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just saw my friend Tedra is what was on there today.
Yes.
The crystal healing thing. I was like, God, boss bitches lately. All right.
Yes. Yes. It's awesome. That's even more like, yeah, I want to keep getting there, like keep having other healers get there and that kind of stuff. Because the more that we put that out in the waves, baby, people are getting it.
And you've always celebrated other people and lifted people up as well. So
Yeah.
I've always really, really admired and appreciated.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
I'm going to just add a little bit into there because I know that just regarding supporting other, or like encouraging other people, my ego does kick in and gets a little worried. Just to be honest with that. I mean, it's like I see somebody else doing some great things, and I go, oh, "That's really great," and then I get to reframe and go, "Okay, you're providing your purpose and that kind of stuff. Quit worrying about other people." But because there's never going to be like the way that I look at it, and you and I are sitting here, and all of a sudden, boom, we're out in the universe, and we're hanging by Saturn and Jupiter. And I go to people, I like, show me the end of the universe. And they're like, there isn't one. And I go, exactly. So there's a never ending supply of people and seekers and money and, abilities for just all of us. And so why not celebrate every person that steps out of the spiritual closet and is willing and able to come out? And even the ones that are just looking outside the closet, they're still sitting in there and they're looking out. It's like, I want us to join together and shine that light and say, life can be better. You can find that balance, and that authentic self can feel freaking awesome. So, yeah.
Thank you for mentioning that. Because when I feel small in my ego and threatened, the actual remedy is to be like, pump someone else up.
Yes.
And like, and I also realized too, like what I offer is different or whatever. And that also, I know we're wrapping up.
I know it.
That also has to do like on social media, for example, too. Like if you're trying to build a following and you are completely emulating someone else, it's going to work for a minute. And then like, you're not going to be able to build a presence at all. It's the same thing. You have to be completely yourself and people will find you. And there's plenty of people to go around. There's billions of people on the earth, you know what I mean? So if you're a healer, get out of competition as much as you can. And, a little help, like if someone's like stepping it up and you're like, I'm going to step it up too,
Right.
That's
Right.
fine.
That's all good.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm glad that you brought that up. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This was a delight.
Thank you for coming on. I was like, there's no outline. This is just what a verbal volley.
This is how right. This is how it goes. This is what I love. This is what I love. So, yeah.
Well, everybody, if you enjoyed the episode, if you're listening on iTunes or wherever, please rate it 5 stars and give it a nice review. If you're on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. And please follow Heidi on social. And also subscribe to her mailing list, because her mailing list is good too. You send out nice emails, actually. So anyway, Heidi, this is a pleasure. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.